8:27 to the national news, and there are new concerns about MP safety in the wake of the stabbing of David Amess MP at a constituency surgery in Essex on Friday. Labour's Diane Abbott says she only wants to see constituents now behind a screen, but other MPs, including many from Sussex, continued with surgeries and attended events as normal over the weekend. The MP for South Downs and Arundel, Andrew Griffith, even went as far as to say that he is determined that this senseless act will not prevent him continuing to support his constituents. Well, joining me now is Maria Caulfield, the Conservative MP for Lewes. Over the weekend, I saw you tweeted this, Maria: we need to end the toxic hate against MPs that we are lazy and on the make, stop the fake news on fuel shortages, vaccine passports, etc. Journalists have a role in allowing grown-up politics and ending the gotcha moments, such as the PM had a few days off after his mum died. #toxic. I mean, how much would you say so-called fake news is playing a part in all of this, Maria?
Well, I just think it adds to the whole problem. So, if someone is, minded to carry out an act of violence, that kind of narrative that MPs are all on the make, they're, constantly on holiday, we dine every evening in grand dining rooms. People actually do think we got £10,000 each during lockdown, which was completely, fake news, if you want to say it that way. Our offices were given access to money if we needed it, if our staff needed to work from home and needed printers and laptops. But, that was not the story put out there. And so this constant, the thing about expenses, people think I get massive expenses. I don't claim for anything, but my expenses pay for the rent for my office and the wages of my staff, but they're classed as expenses. Now, you wouldn't say that to a head teacher. You would say that's your school budget.
With all due respect, Maria, some of your colleagues have taken the mickey there over the years, haven't they? And I'm not saying you have, but it kind of,
Yes.
You get tarred by their brush.
Well, absolutely. But in all walks of life, whether it's, the police, whether it's footballers, journalists, there's always a few that will give the whole group a bad name. And the expenses scandal, was before I was elected. And there has been a massive change now. You literally can't claim a penny without a receipt. And even with a receipt, they're scrutinised to the nth degree. And it was recognised that wasn't fair on taxpayers and it wasn't a good use of taxpayers' money. And the changes were made. But you can't go on about something that happened 20, 30 years ago, that for those of us who are MPs now are in a very, very different situation. I can't get security for my office because I'm so scared that if I put an expense in, it will be over the local papers, the national papers, and people will be saying you're spending taxpayers' money. That's why many MPs haven't put security measures in.
And that's not fair, because you have a right to be safe doing your job just like everyone else. I mean, that's the interesting thing, I think. It doesn't seem to be just MPs. We did a story on Friday about GPs and the amount of abuse they're getting at surgeries. Sometimes, in some cases, the police having to be called because of violence. I mean, what do you put that down to? Do you just think as a society, people are just, I don't know, losing it a little bit?
Absolutely. If you look at, poor old Stuart, who's the manager of Sainsbury's in Newhaven, he opened up his petrol stations during the fuel shortages at night so that people could get their shopping during the day and get their fuel at night. His staff got so much abuse from people when he went above and beyond. Didn't have to do that. That if you talk to shop workers during lockdown, the abuse they got asking people to put on a mask or to socially distance. Society just seems to be very, very angry at the moment, and ordinary people going about their job, whether it's MPs, shop workers, GPs, are taking the brunt. And we all need to look at our own behaviour and say, is that how we would like to be treated?
How scared are you? Because I'll be honest, if I were you and I'd seen what happened to David Amess, a colleague of mine, I would be really quite frightened.
Well, I've had death threats myself. I've had people arrested who've made threats against me. Caroline Ansell in Eastbourne had someone sent to prison a couple of years ago who made threats against her. What happened on Friday, with obviously it's tragic, and David was a very good friend of mine. But we are under serious threats every single day, and most of us, whether we're local MPs or on the national scale, you talked about Diane Abbott, have had significant threats. I've had my tyres slashed, my office graffitied. And it's not just me. I'm one person, but I've got a team of people who work for me who have to face that gauntlet every single day, going to the office. Are there protesters outside? Is someone going to knock on the door and get angry that they can't come into the office? It's more than just. Yeah, and it's been like that since I was elected, to be honest, and it's not got any better.
And we wonder why people don't want to go into these sorts of roles, if you've got to face all of that. Listen, thank you for your time this morning, and thank you for coming on, because obviously, David was a friend of yours, and I'm always really struck in these sorts of circumstances when, somebody's killed in this way, and we sort of, go to their friends and colleagues and get them to come on the radio. But we don't want to forget, obviously, you knew him, on a personal level, and that's a great loss to you.
Yeah, and David, he was the first person to always say to us, particularly female MPs, be careful when you're doing your surgeries. And that's the irony of the whole thing. Yeah, he was just such a kind man, always thinking of others before himself.
Maria Caulfield, Conservative MP for Lewes, thank you so much. It's just gone 8:30.